Howdy, folks. Okay, so today we're going to be breaking down all of the books that I read in 2023. And yes, before you say anything, I know that's a long time ago, but guess what? I didn't have a YouTube channel in 2023, so we're doing it now, and you're just going to have to deal with it. But here's the thing. I'm not just going to say, hey, these are all the books I've read. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All the way down to 40. I think that would be kind of boring. I'm going to try and make it a little bit more engaging for y'all. We're going to be doing a bracket. So we're going to be doing all 40 books are going to be in a tournament bracket, sort of like a la March Madness, if you will. Everything is seeded randomly, so basically I'm just going to be playing through each matchup and talking about the books in the matchup, and it's going to give me a chance to review each book as I go, and then we're going to end up with the very best book that I read last year. So that's the plan. We do have some great books in the bracket. We've got some great writers as well. We got a couple features by Ursula K. Le Guin. We've got some Douglas Adams, George R.R. Martin, Octavia Butler, Miyako Kawakami. You get the picture. So I was one of those people in high school that basically gave up reading altogether. I was a big reader when I was a kid. And then we started reading just books that I didn't give a shit about in high school. I feel like every English class I took, we only did the classics. And I've started to come back around to the classics now that I am not a dumbass, but I was a dumbass in high school. And it would have been nice to have something a little bit more accessible. My high school English teacher gave me James Joyce. Like, come on, dude. So 2023 being the year that I discovered the books that I really like means that I also read a lot of books that I didn't like. So that makes the tournament a little bit more fun because there's some books that I really didn't enjoy that I can goof on a little bit. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Let's go into my 2023 book bracket madness. Let's go. We're here to talk about the books that I read last year. It by Stephen King and Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. This one is super easy. You know, it was... I always feel weird talking about it because it just sounds like you're saying any book. I could be saying Ender's Game. It was great. It was. It by Stephen King was fine. It was all right. It was too long. Seriously. It was like 1,400 pages. I don't know why I chose that as the first Stephen King book to read, but I did. And it was fine. It was perfectly enjoyable, not a super challenging read. But yeah, it's Ender's Game by a million miles. Ender's Game, this was the first time that I had read it, actually. I think I talked about it. I want to read the sequel this year, Speaker for the Dead. And it was just a really fun but also thought-provoking book for, I mean, I guess you could call it like YA, but I think it's got some mature themes. So yeah, we're going to go with Ender's Game, advancing on. This is an interesting one and a bit more of a challenging pick. Game of Thrones versus Nothing to Envy. Nothing to Envy was great. This was a recommendation from a friend, and it was about the division of North and South Korea and sort of the history behind it, and it follows families on both sides. It's a really, really excellent book. But I think I'm going to go with Game of Thrones here. I mean, it's a classic. It's a fantastic book, and it launched a stellar series that we may never see the end of. Beginning of this year, I read Clash of Kings, which I thought was even better than Game of Thrones. I felt like Game of Thrones was... like the TV show was so faithful to the first book that I was like, all right, there's nothing new here, but whatever. Left Hand of Darkness and Dr. Sleep. Yeah, not another, sorry, Stephen King, you're kind of getting shit on, but there is another Stephen King. I read 3 Stephen King books last year. That's crazy. Anyways, Dr. Sleep. Okay, it's actually pretty funny. I got this from a friend, and I didn't know that it was a sequel to The Shining. So I got like 10 pages in, and it starts talking about, you know, the little boy from The Shining and like his memories and his dreams, and it was like, damn, this feels really familiar. And then I read the blurb. So I read Doctor Sleep without having read The Shining, which is a questionable decision by me. The Left Hand of Darkness, I got a copy right here. This is a great book. Ursula K. Le Guin, probably my favorite author. So yeah, Stephen King, I'm sorry, but you didn't have a chance. Next up, we got 10 Stories and, oh man, Where the Crawdads Sing. These were probably two of the bottom ranked books that I read last year. I didn't like either of them. Where the Crawdads Sing was, I mean, it was like entertaining. I think I read it on a plane and it passed the time, but I honestly forgot that I had read both of these books. I'm going to go with 10 Planets just because it was a little more unique. I didn't even really like it, so I can tell you right now, whatever it's going up against next round, it's going to lose. All right. Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney, and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. I think Sally Rooney gets a little bit of a bad rap. I thought it was a very relatable book, kind of about your 20s and being aimless and relationships. I liked it. I liked it, but I think I'm going with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I mean, come on, that's a classic, and yeah, that's what we're doing. NW by Zadie Smith and Nowhere for Very Long. Yeah, these are two that I'm pretty mid. I thought were pretty mid. NW, I just I couldn't get behind the format. I never got into the story. I was just like, whatever. And then Nowhere for Very Long was fine. I think I got it at a little free library, and it's a memoir about a girl who lives in her van, and there's nothing really more to it. It was fine. I think she was like an Instagram personality. It sounded like that's how she got a book deal. I'm assuming. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna go with NW, even though I'm kind of wishy-washy on it. All right, these are two really excellent books. I feel like this is not fair. I'm getting I'm getting the good books against one another and the shit books against one another. Not to say that those are shit books, just not my cup of tea. Don't come for me in the comments. All right, Sea People. I think I have this one. Puzzle of Polynesia. Yes, I do. And Open Water by Caleb Azuma Nelson. And this one is by Christina Thompson. This is a great book. I picked it up because I was researching about Hawaii and Polynesian history for my novel. It was a really digestible read, so I liked it quite a bit. But Open Water was just phenomenal. It's a short book. It's less than 200 pages, and it's about a friends turned into a relationship kind of vibe. And it's also about racial justice and a whole lot more. Open Water. On to the next one. All right, final matchup of round one. We've got The Tea Girl of Hummingbird Lane by Lisa C. and The Spear Cuts Through Water. The Spear Cuts Through Water was good at parts. It's weird. I felt like it was very action-packed and still felt like it dragged, which is not a good sign. I thought some of the ideas, the mythology behind it was very interesting. It's a fantasy novel, if you didn't gather that. I got it because it was nominated for the Ursula K. Le Guin Prize for Fiction, and it was totally fine. I thought The Tea Girl of Hummingbird Lane was pretty good. I enjoyed it. It's about... man, this is the thing when you're talking about books you read in 2023. Sometimes the details are a little fuzzy. It's about a girl in China, very rural China, way in the middle of nowhere, before society reached them, essentially. And it's about her meeting this guy who, a businessman who wants to make their tea into a product and sell it. So it's about her journey, and there's some pretty fucked up shit that goes down. I won't spoil anything. I think it's a really nice, maybe nice isn't the right word. I think it's a good book. I liked it quite a bit. All right, before we go on to the next round, I just wanted to thank you all for watching and let you know that you can subscribe to the channel, right? If you're not subscribed already, that's what it's there for. It's there for subscription. Guys, we're so close to 500 subscribers. I think we're at 450. So, hey, make it happen. Tell your friends. And if you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments what you think of anything of these books or my opinions. Do I have some bad takes? That's okay if I do. You can tell me. Also, let me know like what other kind of content similar to this vein you would like to see, because I'll tell you, the video essays, man, they take a long time, and I love doing them, but dude, Parasite, I was like battling the copyright fucking blocks for so long, and it's so frustrating. So I'm going to keep doing them, but they take a long time, and I would like to have easier things to do. So anyways, all right, I'm going to stop rambling. Let's go ahead and get into the next round. All right. Oh, this is tragic. This is so tragic. These were, I think, both in my top 5. So I kind of know how this bracket's going to play out because I made a blog post already about my top books. I'll link that in case you want to read it. But yeah, both of these books are amazing 5-star reads. Cloud Cuckoo Land is by Anthony Doerr. He wrote All the Light We Cannot See, which is like a historical fiction set in World War II, which I do want to read. But Cloud Cuckoo Land was so good. How do we even describe it? It's like this epic that transcends time. It has 3 separate timelines. One is like 1500s Constantinople. One is 20th century Montana. And then one is set in the future on a spaceship. I want to read it again, honestly. It is like just so entertaining, and also just like, wow, I can't really get into it for the sake of spoilers, but it's a phenomenal book. Would highly recommend. But Ender's Game, though, let's pour one out, because that's also a really fantastic book. So tragic that it went out this early, but that's how these things kind of go. These are 2 other ones that I was kind of mid on. Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. Whatever. It was like interesting for the first chapter, and then it was just like, here's another example, here's another example, here's another example. It's basically about fuck, I honestly don't even remember. I feel like the psychology self-help genre, it's got some clunkers for sure, and it took some experience to realize that. So we're gonna go with Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut. This was recommended to me by a friend whose recommendations I trust, and I just like couldn't get into it. I think like the writing style just took me a while to get involved with. And what I'm trying to say here is I want to give Kurt Vonnegut another chance, because this was the first book I've read. I have Slaughterhouse 5. I think I'm gonna do that in the near future. But yeah, Cat's Cradle, that'll be going on. But yeah, I can tell you right now, Cloud Cuckoo Land's gonna fucking destroy that shit. This is an interesting matchup. Okay. The Sixth Extinction, An Unnatural History. I don't remember who it's by. It's basically a science book about how we're living through the 6th major extinction event due to human-caused climate change. So it's a pretty light beach read, if you will. No, it's very depressing, but also very important for us to understand the damage that we're doing to the planet. But man, it was a really good book. I liked it a lot. I think I'm going to go with Game of Thrones. I was a huge Game of Thrones fan. TV Game of Thrones before, shit hit the fan in a bad way. But yeah, so I gotta give them the nod there. Oh, this is a very good matchup. Damn. I'm sorry, Stephen King. You are just getting rough draws here. I really loved On Writing. It's not so much about like how to write. It's more about like his journey and his advice towards aspiring writers, which I just thought it was really good. I thought it was really good storytelling. It was very interesting. It was very well written. And it was cool to hear about, Stephen King is such like a behemoth in the industry that but like how he got started and all that it's very good. But sorry, it's gonna be Dune. Like, stop playing with me. Dune. This is not the copy that I read. I think I read it from the library, but I found this at thrift store, and I'm going to read it again. I also this year read Dune Messiah, which I thought was still very good, but Dune is just I think it's my second favorite science fiction book ever. The first one is on this list. We'll get to it very soon. But yeah, Dune is phenomenal. Simply chef's kiss. Exquisite, if you will. Okay. The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin, I already talked about. Got it right here. And This Is How You Lose the Time War. To be honest, I couldn't get into This Is How You Lose the Time War. I thought there were certain passages, like it's very poetic, and I don't know, man. It's just like I couldn't get into it. I can't really explain it. I think it's a well-written book, and if you like it, no shame at all. I think plenty of people who have good taste like it, but for me, it's The Left Hand of Darkness. Okay, wow, that's a tough draw for both of them. These are two awesome books for different reasons. Interior Chinatown by Charles Yu. I gotta look this up so I don't sound stupid. Generic Asian man, that's it. So Interior Chinatown is sort of like a social satire that is written as a screenplay, and it follows this character who, like, ironically refers to himself as Generic Asian Man. And then you see basically him progress through different roles in the screenplay. There's one part where he's like Kung Fu Man or something. It's very funny. It's very light. Well, it's not light so much as like quick. It's a quick read because it's a screenplay. But it's super interesting. It's very effective at showing you some of the struggles that it's like to be an Asian American living in America. And then Red Rising by Pierce Brown is a very highly entertaining sci-fi novel that is a series. It's like, I think it's on its 6th book. I think there's 6 books out now. I've got a bunch of them. I gotta get back into the series. This is the sequel, Golden Sun. I want to read it this year. Yes, Red Rising is fantastic, but I think Interior Chinatown just has like a little more going for it. It's more unique and it makes you think a little bit more. I have heard Red Rising gets very philosophical later on, which I'm definitely intrigued by. Okay, yeah, I already talked about 10 Planets. We don't need to go into that anymore. So we're going Soul of an Octopus. It's by Cy Montgomery. She was going through a rough time in her life, started volunteering at a aquarium, and became very attached to octopus in general. And it's sort of about her learning about them and communicating that to the reader. I think it is good. I wish it had done a little bit more. I think there was more about, like, I know more about octopus that were not said in that. This is a tough one. In the Garden of Beasts by Eric Larson, and Miss Ice Sandwich by Mieko Kawakami. Very different books, to say the least. In the Garden of Beasts is about the rise of Hitler's Germany, told through the perspective of an American ambassador. And it doesn't really get so much into like the Holocaust and the during the war atrocities, but it's very much an examination of like the factors that led to Hitler's rise and the Third Reich and like the power dynamics. Very, very interesting. I love Eric Larson. He's one of my favorite nonfiction writers. And Miss Ice Sandwich is a fun story. It's like a novella, and it's about a girl who becomes like obsessed with this. I don't even remember, dude. Here's the blurb. I had to look it up because, to be honest, it was such a short book. I like kind of forgot about it. I enjoyed it. It was like, I think I read it on the beach in Michigan, and it was perfect. But it didn't really stick with me, as you can tell by me having to look up the Goodreads summary. But you can read it, see if it calls your name. I would like to read more by Miyako Kawakami, but we're gonna go with In the Garden of Beasts. All right, Hidden Life of Trees, What They Feel, How They Communicate, yada yada, you get the picture, and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Oof, man, dude, that's tough. The Hidden Life of Trees was very interesting. So, disclaimer, I didn't quite finish it because it got stolen from me, but I was like most of the way done, so I feel like I might as well include it. I thought it was super cool it's like, if you're into like nature and science and fungi, like the underground relationships and how trees operate, highly recommend. We're gonna go with Hitchhiker's Guide. Like I said, it's a classic. All right, The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde and Last Summer on State Street. Picture of Dorian Gray was one of the relatively few classics I read last year. I've been more heavily involved with classic literature in 2024. But Picture of Dorian Gray was one that was like, okay, you know, I kind of almost had written off classics because I was like kind of scarred from high school. I just wish they had mixed it up a little bit, like, or not. My high school English teacher taught us James Joyce, which is like, I was too stupid to understand that, right? Last Summer on State Street is very good. It's, I don't remember the author. I'm going to have to put it on the screen. But it is set in Chicago, which is where I grew up. And it's about this family living in the projects and just sort of the things that happen to them. You can kind of infer, you know, gang violence, drugs, prostitution, I believe, is involved. So yeah, it's a little bit dark at times, but it's very good. I recommend it. I recommend both of these. I'm gonna go with Picture of Dorian Gray. All right, we're getting close to, jeez, there's a lot of books on here. Okay, yeah, we're gonna go with Love in Color. Love in Color is very cool. It's like, it's short stories, I believe, and it's you can see it says mythical tales from around the world retold. So there's several stories in there, and I thought they were honestly all pretty good. I feel like with short story collections, there's oftentimes some clunkers in there, but this I really liked, and NW I didn't. So okay, here we go. All right, so this gives me a chance to talk about two books that I have strong opinions on. Mistborn, I thought, was very mid. I don't like Brandon Sanderson's writing style. I think if you like him, do you. It's not for me. I felt like it was like overly descriptive, and like I just don't think he's that great of a writer. Sorry, I said it. That being said, I did watch his lectures on writing. He did like a lecture series at BYU, and they're on YouTube for free, and I thought they were good. I thought they were good. I feel like I'm really not selling it. I thought they were very good for, you know, getting the very basics of storytelling, especially for fantasy. It helped me a lot, actually, with like world building. I think, okay, that is one positive thing I can say about Brandon Sanderson. He builds some very intricate worlds. After I finished Mistborn, I decided, I'm like, okay, maybe, you know, it's just this one book. Maybe I just need to give him a chance with his big series, the Stormlight Archive. And I didn't get very far. I was like, okay, this is an 1,000-page book. I'm going to decide right away if I think it's going to do something for me. The Dispossessed, on the other hand, is probably my favorite book of all time. So I don't think there's really even any competition, not even close. The Dispossessed is, I actually read it for the second time, so it's very fresh. It's about this physicist named Shevek who lives on a moon that is anarchist society. And it's about him traveling to the main planet, which is still like, you know, capitalist, and sort of the dynamics that go on there. I'm going to have a whole video essay coming out about The Dispossessed, so I'm going to save my detailed thoughts for that. It's also kind of like about what freedom is. And that's all I got to say on the matter. All right, yeah, not even close. It's going to be open water. The second mountain is like another one of those self-help sort of books. I felt like it was interesting, like the metaphor definitely resonated, which is why I ended up reading it. It's sort of about like how we work so hard to climb this mountain of what society wants us to think of as success, like, you know, reaching a certain point in your career or whatever. But then once you get there, you're like, okay, what now? And the book is sort of saying like, well, then that's where the second mountain comes in. Like, what are you going to do that's not self-centered, that's centered on others, that's going to bring you more fulfillment? So, you know, around this time that I read it, I had no idea what to do with my life. Still don't to an extent, but I have a little bit better of an understanding. So it was, the metaphor definitely worked, but it was like almost 400 pages. It simply did not need to be that long. You could have cut out 200 of those and I would have been perfectly fine. All right. The Two Lives of Sarah and the Bell Jar. So The Two Lives of Sarah is about a girl named Sarah who I think is an orphan or something, and she works at a lodging house in Memphis back in like the 60s or 50s or something. It's a good story. I liked it, but The Bell Jar did a little bit more for me. That's sort of a classic at this point by Sylvia Plath. I think her only novel, and it's kind of semi-autobiographical because Sylvia Plath suffered from enormous mental health issues. She committed suicide at the end of her life, and this definitely like she was institutionalized. She went through all that fucking horrendous way that we treat mental health back in the day. I'm not saying it's perfect now, but it's definitely better. But yeah, that was like very resonant to me, and I thought the writing was quite good. This one's interesting. So The Hidden Half of Nature is nonfiction. It's about like microbial life, kind of the history of microbiology, and it's also about like gut health and basically, you know, the hidden half of nature, like what we can't see but is still there. It's like an entire world that we just can't see, and it's super fascinating. It's one of the things in the natural world that like really gets me going. So I'm gonna go with that one. I think it was really, really good. Oh, okay. So these are two very good ones to end off on. The Invention of Nature is about this guy, Alexander von Humboldt. So this guy was an expeditionist. He went to South America. He went to the Amazon rainforest. He went all over the world, was like studying all of these different ways that the ecosystem worked. And he also saw how colonialism was harming these super fragile ecosystems. How this massive agriculture business was deforesting. So essentially what he is the grandfather of ecology. He basically invented the study of ecosystems in the way that they interact with one another. It was like around the turn of the 18th century. Yeah, it was maybe 19th century. It's a really, really good book. It's a very fascinating read. He was a very interesting person. He was also friends with like Goethe. I forget, some famous novelist, and you get to meet him, and like you get to see all these other kind of historical figures. And there's also like some politics aspect. It's a little longer. It's like close to 500 pages, but I didn't feel like it was dragging. Actually, towards the end of his life, there was not as much going on, but like, okay, that being said, Parable of the Sower is going to take the cake here. I think I got a copy here. Parable of the Sower is probably, how do I say this? The most prescient dystopia that I've read. This was written in 93 and it's set around now. And it has this like Donald Trump-like figure who literally, I'm pretty sure, says the phrase, "Make America Great Again." So I read that. I'm like, damn, did Donald Trump base his whole character off of this fictional? No, there's no way he's reading this fucking book. But it's so good. It is so good. It follows this character, Lauren Olamina. And she has like a disease where she feels the pain of other people as they're experiencing it. So it's very like psychological. It really gets into her character, but then it's also very political. And it's just phenomenal. It's one of the best books I read last year. Easily. All right, now that I've talked about everything, we're going to kind of start rushing through because I was looking at the time. I'm like, damn, I've been recording for a while. So yeah, like I said, Cloud Cuckoo Land, freaking great book. Cat's Cradle, sorry, not really. Oh man, this is a very interesting matchup because they're like both these super intricate, enormous, lot of characters. Worlds are very realized, and but Dune, I think, is just more, I don't know, unique at this point in the story, at least for Game of Thrones. So yeah, we're gonna go with Dune. Oh, I'm gonna go with Interior Chinatown here. I really love both of these books. I would like to read Left Hand of Darkness again, because I just read The Dispossessed for the second time, and I'm like, damn, it hits almost harder the second time through. But I think Interior Chinatown is just a really solid book. I gave it 5 stars, which I was looking at Storygraph. I think I got like 20, maybe 25 5-star books. So, very good book. I'm going to go with In the Garden of Beasts. I really like history and like especially history that's told in an interesting way. That's a very intriguing genre for me. So, this is a tough. I think I gave these both 4.5 stars. I'm gonna go with Dorian Gray. Okay, yeah, Dispossessed. I already said. I maybe I'll cut that out, but I already said how highly I think of The Dispossessed. It's amazing. It's an amazing book. And yeah. Okay, we're gonna go. Ooh, this is close. This is a close one, but I'm gonna go with Open Water. Again, I think it's just a very well told story. It's very focused. I think it's told in second person, which is unique, but it really works. And it's a good love story, but it's also got a lot more depth than just like, oh, hey, these two people are friends and now they're falling in love. It has a lot more going on than that. And then, yeah, Parable of the Sower. Don't play with me. Okay, we're getting down. All right, I think that we're in the Elite 8. And this is where things are going to get tricky because... So Dune, I finished Dune at the last half of last year, and I didn't include it in my blog post of my top books because when I wrote it, I hadn't read it. And then I was like, at the end of the blog post, I'm like, here's what I'm going to read next year. And then I was writing about Dune, and I'm like, I should read it again. Yeah, this is my second time through Dune. It's a masterpiece. It simply is. And Cloud Cuckoo Land might also be. I'm not prepared to say that quite yet. I would need to read it through another time to see if it holds up to a second read. But just for the simple fact that I've read Dune twice and it held up just as well, if not better, the second time. There's so much with Dune. Like, the movie I thought was good, but I think the book really gets into like the religious psychology and the fervor, and it just does it in a more nuanced and effective way, I think. All right. I'm going to go Interior Chinatown again. Yeah, In the Garden of Beasts is good. I think it's not my favorite Eric Larson. I think Devil in the White City is better. I also think Dead Wake is really good. I think those might be the only 3 I've read. Both excellent books. At this point, all these books are great. But Interior Chinatown, I think is just for the uniqueness aspect. Okay. Yeah, this is where Picture of Dorian Gray is going down. The Dispossessed is phenomenal. It asks so many interesting questions. She is a philosopher. She doesn't call herself that, but she is. She has so much to say, and her writing is inimitable. Her words are so precise, so perfect, like the perfect choice of words. I love her writing so much. Like, even after reading The Dispossessed, I think I have The Lay of Heaven and Wizard of Earthsea, so I'm like, let me know in the comments which one I should read next. I'm like, damn, I really should branch out, but I just love her. I love her to death. This is tough. I'm gonna say Parable of the Sower. I just think it's like the best dystopia that I've read. I have not read The Handmaid's Tale, so I have a copy here somewhere, so I might change my mind because I do love me some Margaret Atwood. But yeah, Parable of the Sower, man. It's dark and depressing, but I love those kind of books. I love dark books so much. Okay, we're in the final four, guys. Wow. I feel like it started to go very quickly. It was like really dragging, and then all of a sudden. Yeah, we're gonna go Dune. It's Dune. I already knew it was gonna be Dune in the finals after seeing the bracket. Interior Chinatown. Let's all give a round of applause because great book, and yeah, it made the final four. And then this is tragic. This is tragic to have to pick one of these, but it's going to be The Dispossessed. You already know. I may have spoiled what's going to happen in the final round already. Excellent books. Would highly recommend you read both of them. I want to read some more Octavia Butler. I like her writing, but I love Ursula K. Le Guin's writing. So that is going to take the cake. And then we got Dune and The Dispossessed. I mean, this is what it was meant to be. This was written in the stars, if you will. Written in the stars above the planet Arrakis. Oh, I do have a copy of The Dispossessed somewhere, but I'm not really sure where I put it. But here's the dust cover. Here we go. I don't know why I have the dust jacket and not the book. Actually, I do. It's because I took it off. I was reading. So, here are the final two books. I don't know why I'm doing it like this. Also, can we take a minute to appreciate this beautiful dust jacket? I literally bought this copy simply for the dust jacket. I got it as a gift, but it's not even like that well made. Like the binding is I'm like, oh, I don't know if this is going to hold up super well, even though it's hardcover. Okay. So, well, I don't know how to do this. Do I do a drum roll? Like, just think about it in your heads. Think which one you would pick if you've read these, and then think about what I would pick, because it's actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it's really quite difficult. I've read both of these books twice. They're number 1 and number 2 in my sci-fi rankings. One of them is my favorite book of all time, and that's what it's going to be. It's going to be The Dispossessed. But Dune is phenomenal. All right, so there you have it. What do I do now? End the tournament. Final results. The Dispossessed goes 5-0, takes the first place trophy. Dune, Parable of the Sower, Interior Chinatown. Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm looking at these and I'm like, okay. In the Garden of Beasts, I don't think it's the 5th best book I've read last year, but that's kind of how these things go. And then I don't know why this is because of the the early rounds. But yeah, this is a pretty decently, okay, that's interesting. Cool to see this. Yeah, where the Crawdads sing, that's where you belong. Last place. All right, so that's gonna be it. Thank you all for watching. I hope this was entertaining. All right, folks, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you stuck around to the end, you're a true American hero, or wherever you're from. if you're not from America. You're a hero either way. I don't have anything more for you. If you want, you can check out my other videos. I got video essays. That's kind of the bread and butter of this channel, but I wanted to do something a little bit different for this time. A little bit less effort also is nice. I work really hard on the scripts for my video essays, so it's nice to just kind of talk at a camera for a while and not really worry about if everything I'm saying is perfectly eloquent and yada yada. Anyways, these are 3 of the books that I'm reading right now, in case you're interested. I feel like you deserve a little reward for sticking around to the end. I'm reading Sula by Toni Morrison. I really like it so far, although I just started. Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. I really just started that and don't really have thoughts yet. And Pachinko, I'm pretty decently into it. I don't know. I really want to like it. I like the historical aspect, but I feel like the writing is just not that good. I feel like the characters are kind of flat. I'm sorry if that's a book that you like. A lot of people really like this book. I don't know why it's not really doing it for me, but it's not. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. I'll talk about those in my 2024 bracket. If I do a bracket, I'm not sure if people like this, I'll stick with it. So let me know in the comments if you want me to do this for 2024 when the time comes. Otherwise, maybe I'll just do like a best to worst or worst to best or what have you. Anyways, that's all I got to say. Peace and love, and I'll see you next time.